This is part 2 of my run through of epic collections. This one is Daredevil. Daredevil, the man without fear. The man without fear gives the title. And also, of course, Lee, Wood and Romita. Also at the back gives volume. This is volume 1. The date, 1964 to 66. And Daredevil, and then Daredevil 1 to 21. And also description. There's the spine. And they're all fairly consistently like this. I wish they had included a number. 1, 2, 3, etc. Would have been more useful, but they didn't. Often they come with bonus drill. They're predominantly always in colour, though they sometimes include black and white as well. Now with Daredevil, I'm going to run through some of the other ones. Got Hulk here, Thor, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and others. So I'm just going to run through it, and I'm going to do it in a number 3 of the videos a little bit later. So just can't do them all in one video because I have a tendency to probably talk about half an hour going through these. So to start, Daredevil, Bill Everett. I loved Bill Everett's work. First issue. Changed slightly with the next issue. You got Electro. Always felt slightly odd with the Electro story since it seems to be a bit out of place. Obviously being a Spider-Man character. And also you got FF turned up as well. So it's a bit of a weird mix. Spider-Man doesn't appear. Also you got the Owl. So you got the Owl story. That's issue 3. Then you got Purple Man. Of course, Purple Man, brilliant in the Jessica Jones first series with David Tennant. Absolute superb season that was. Love that story. And I love Purple Man here. This one, next story, is The Matador. And it's got my favourite artist, one of my favourite artists. Another one like Bill Everett or Gil Kane. This time's Wally Wood. The Matador. And there's quite a few stories. You've got Eel, Ox, and so on and so on. With these sort of Submariner story here, and also Stiltman as well. Love Stiltman. He was an unusual. Never could work out Stiltman, the character. You've got this guy on stilts. Where's that stored? It must have been amazingly fine metal that he could expand out. Maybe it was interdimensional sort of equipment. Got great, superb, excellent. I love that one. Again, Wally Wood again. Of course, now he's in his red costume. And you've got Kazar, and you've got John Romita. Love those stories with Kazar. Absolute classic Kazar there. I've always enjoyed Kazar. I enjoyed that's a series that I would love to see in the Astonishing Tales, all those sort of collected. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. Just weird. Those epic collections. Kazar is crying out. But maybe they'll bring out a volume somewhere along the line. Of course, they were Marvel Masterworks. In most cases, I had quite a few of the Marvel Masterworks over the years as well. Now, I've got mainly these epics as well as Omnibus. You got the Ox. It's a great character there, Ox. And then through to battle between Daredevil and Spidey and Gladiator. And Alone Against the Underworld. And then, of course, you've got Gene Colan's artwork. You've got Owl. Just absolutely brilliant. Restoration, this is just superb. The Trap Sprung. Just really awesome artwork. And you've got some bonus material at the back. Daredevil 1. So you've got the first issue there. Just great. Superb volume. Then another volume 1. This one is the Hulk one. This is slightly odd because this has got the Hulk 1 to 6. And you got so you got the original grey Hulk. And of course he changed to a green. And then you got the Toadmen. Toadmen were unusual characters. They sort of, I don't know if they ever turned up again, but they were minor characters compared with Skrulls, etc. So, I don't know. You got the Ringmaster. Ringmaster turned up, obviously Circus of Crime. And there were some interesting stories in the early days. The Hulk 1 to 6. Really enjoyed Tyrannus as well. They really had slightly different storylines. There was I'm just going to go back there. You've got, obviously, Betty there as well. So you've got Let Her Fear Me, etc. Slightly odd storylines. General Fang. There was a lot of these stories. These early 1963, 62, etc. There was a lot of these ones where it was General Fang, obviously, the communist threat. And, of course, got brilliant artwork, Jack Kirby. But then, of course, you got the Fantastic Four. The stories changed a bit because the Hulk, of course, comic stopped. Hulk 1 to 6, and that was it. Then we had sort of these crossover stories where he suddenly appeared. And also a brilliant bit of Ditko here with the Metal Master. Loved that story. One of the weirder looking Hulks. Then Avengers, of course, you got the coming of the Avengers. Space Phantom. Also a brilliant story in the next one with the Hulk and Submariner. And also the classic Fantastic Four, the Hulk and the Thing, versus the Thing, I should say. So that's some great stories. And of course, eventually, he got his own title again. So he didn't need to appear in all these sort of stories, like obviously with Spidey, etc. And you got Hulk versus Giant Man. Of course, Giant Man was also in Tales to Astonish, and that's where he ended up. So you got absolutely brilliant story, and also you got the classic Thor one, Journey into Mystery, battles the Incredible Hulk. So it's a real unusual issue, and that's what I like about these ones. These ones that are collecting odd stories all over the place. Some brilliant original artwork at the back. Metal Master, original art by Ditko. Right. Next one, Thor, the Mighty Thor. This one is volume 2. This is some classic stuff in this. You've got Grey Gargoyle, Absorbing Man, etc. Pluto. So the stories really started to take off at this point. I love this one with the Loki turning up in front of Hyde and Cobra, and just absolute awesome. I love that pairing of characters. They did turn up a bit more later. I don't know if they're still going as a team. I don't know if they're still around. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Still got the Asgard stories. Again, you got the same story that I just showed in the Hulk one. So these ones with the sort of odd stories all over the place often obviously repeat that you can find in other volumes, which is okay, but obviously maybe some people don't like. So you've got the Hulk versus Thor in this one. Then you've got Grey Gargoyle. Not a keen fan of Grey Gargoyle, but the next story, The Absorbing Man. Loved the Absorbing Man stories. More Tales of Asgard. To Kill a Thunder God, you've got the Destroyer. And you also got here a beautiful Thor bonus feature where you've got the Asgard, view of Asgard. Though I must admit, you don't normally see Asgard looking like that. Maybe they knocked all these statues down. There's this monument to the Unknown Warrior. Does that still appear? Maybe they got destroyed in some battle. Mangog was always running through, smashing the place up. So maybe, obviously, when Odin recreated it all, he occasionally thought, you know what, that monument can go. Too complicated to draw each time. However, it looked amazing. You got the demon. You got the Absorbing Man again. And, I don't know who, Ula and her savage swarm remain supreme. It's just great stories all the way through this. And Pluto. Finish off with Pluto. Not many extras in this one, but it's still an absolutely superb issue. So, volume 2. Love that one. This is volume 1. Of course, it's got the origin story of Thor. You've also got some really weird stories at the start. You've got like the Red Barbarian or something, the Executioner. You've got some bit of sort of average stories. Tomorrow Man, sort of crossover between Kang and Lex Luthor. And The Vengeance of Loki. So you've got the Loki stories there. And love the Loki stories. These early stories were quite quirky. They're very short as well. Journey into Mystery were very short stories, like 9 pages, because it, of course, shared with other stories. They also had these ones, like Thunder God and the Thug. Also, Carbon Copy Men. That was quite a good story. Again, Loki. Loki turned up quite a lot. Radioactive Man. Loved the Radioactive Man story. Loki again. He's always, like, you can't put a good villain down. Merlin the Mad. Lava Man. And the Cobra. I love the Cobra story. I loved the Mr. Hyde. Of course, they joined forces in the end. And they were great stories. Though Hyde looked very different from how Hyde looked later. Likewise, the Cobra. Always pity for the poor old Cobra, because the Cobra was really powerful at the start. He was like super powerful. And then by the end, he was like, probably anybody could beat him. And did. Captain America. All of them eventually beat poor old Cobra. Again, you've got Tomorrow Man. And the Enchantress and the Executioner. And also, brilliant one there. I love that. Sort of classic stories. Giants Walk the Earth. That was a great set of stories. And Grey Gargoyle again. Grey Gargoyle turned up too often. Also, you've got Mr. Hyde and the Cobra again. Great story. I love that story. And it's got some bonus material at the back. You've got some really decent. Also, you've got some original pages from the earliest issues as well. Journey, obviously, into mystery. I love the way they call it Journey. So you've got Journey written there. Not Journey into Mystery, Journey. Though he did call Journey into Mystery later on there. The next issue, it was put the job code as well, V831. So that was quite good. Who says this isn't the Marvel Age? And you've got the lovely pictures there of all the various issues. Now, a lot of these, like I say, would be brilliant for Epic Collections. Patsy and Hetty, modelling with Millie, Rawhide Kid, Millie, Patsy and Walker, and also Kid Colt Outlaw. None of those have been epicked. Yeah, if there's such a word as epicked. This one, brilliant. Iron Man 3. This is The Man Who Killed Tony Stark. There's some really ish stories in it where you've got like the Crusher, but however, you've got superb artwork from Johnny Craig. I love, got Inca here, Johnny Craig. Just absolutely glorious stories. Johnny Craig, yeah, Archie Goodwin and Johnny Craig. However, the Freak, I never was a fan of that storyline. Freak, poor old, the Gladiator. So you've got the Gladiator there. Gladiator. George Tusker. Gladiator. Oh, you've got the Hulk. You've got the Mandarin. You've got the Mandarin and the Controller. I love the Controller. The Controller, of course, turned up later with sort of joined forces with, well, sort of, with Thanos in the Captain Marvels. And some really brilliant Red Ghost. So it was a mix of stories. I mean, there were some good stories you got here. I loved a bit with poor old Stark Industries having bits of problems there. Who Serves Lucifer? Not the TV series, the Lucifer. And then all the way through to this character. Now, there's some really naff characters in this. This one, I don't even know what his name was. Yeah. So they were really struggling in places with some of these stories. However, there's some real great stories in this one, Volume 3. But there are also a couple of that are not so great. This is one of my favourites. Avengers. The Avengers Defenders. Slightly out of sequence because this is Volume 7. This is quite a sequence. But this has got the Avengers Defenders War. And I love that. So you've got, starts off with a very poor story. Back to very poor story. That story there. It's totally nothing much. However, you've got the Dormammu and Loki and the Defenders, where you've got the evil eye and the mixing of dimensions, etc. Great story because you've got lots of crossovers all the way through. You've got Thor versus Hulk, you've got Valkyrie versus Swordsman, Captain America versus Submariner. What more could you want? Totally brilliant. Great Defender story. Lots and lots of brilliant characters all the way through the Marvel Universe. Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, everything was thrown into this. And, of course, got Loki there. The Collector. It's amazing. You go from one of the classics to a pretty story. Poor old Collector. Never rated the Collector. One of the elders of the universe. However, why did he bother? I do not know. He always kept on losing. He was a real angry guy most of the time. Then you got Zodiac stories, which was quite nice because it led on to another set of stories, of course, with Mantis and the Starstalker. I loved the bit where he mentions Thanos, and he's not Thanos, Galactus. Never heard of Galactus. Probably hasn't heard of Thanos either. Because Thanos turns up in the next. So you got Thanos. And Power versus Power. Thanos, the living titan, because he's all with the cosmic cube. And Nucleo, where you got the Wizard and all that sort of stuff. And the wedding of... So you've got Quicksilver and Crystal. So you've got some great stories in this. This volume is a superb volume. If you're looking for Avengers 1, I think this one is one of my favourites. Love that story. Set of stories. Fantastic Four, the master plan of Doctor Doom. This was real brilliant sequence of stories here. Volume 2, 1963-64. This has got Submariner, you've got the Hulk, you just got everything. Superb artwork. Also you've got the first annual. Brilliant first annual. Love that. You also got brilliant Spider-Man story there. The Pharaoh, good old Pharaoh, Ramatut, of course, leading on to Kang, etc. Also the Watchers in the story, Hate-Monger story, just classic stuff. Doctor Doom turned up quite a bit. You also got the Hulk and Thing. That was reprinted in the Hulk #1, Hulk Volume 1. You got Submariner, Search for Submariner. And there's quite a few crossovers in here. You got Doctor Strange. Also, next story, you got the X-Men. And that's a great story. Red Ghost again. Then you got the origin of Doctor Doom. This volume is a great volume with some great stories. And also you got Ramatut and Doctor Doom there. Mole Man, one of my least favourite characters. So, but this is still an absolute gem. Volume 2. Then Doctor Strange. I love this one because it's got some great stories, got some brilliant art. Frank Brunner. This is Volume 3, A Separate Reality. And you got some first bit with the New Year's Eve. I love that with Clear. Clear, just amazing. Then you got also some stories that sort of start the ball rolling for the Defenders. You've got like Doctor Strange, the Hulks, the Silver Surfer. You got Submariner, etc. So you've got Nightcrawler's story there. Then you go into this brilliant Barry Windsor Smith stories. This world gone mad. I love that one. I'm going to turn that over there. And you got like H.P. Lovecraft, R.E. Howard storylines. Just love that. Some more there. And of course you've got the Ancient One. And also Baron Mordo turns up, of course. But you've also got the classic Frank Brunner artwork and the Sisneg storyline. I loved that Sisneg. Because when I first started reading comics, Sisneg storyline, I thought, wow, it's a completely brilliant story. However, the next story was not so good, Silver Dagger. Never a fan of Silver Dagger. So, but I would say this volume is just one of my favourites. It's got lots of quirky stories, very all over the place, but it's generally, I think, a masterpiece. Just great volume. Then Master of Kung Fu. Not a martial arts fan, however, I think this is just a superb volume. Great artwork. Paul Gallucci is just superb. So you've got some great stories. And this has got quite an unusual mix. You've got Special Marvel Edition 1516, Master of Kung Fu 1728, Giant Size 1-4, Giant Size Spider-Man 2, Iron Man Annual 4. So you've got quite a mixed story. So occasionally, Shang-Chi does sort of cross over into the Marvel universe, into the standard Marvel universe, Spider-Man, etc. So there is a bit where he meets up with Spidey. But it's just beautiful artwork. That's the thing I love about this volume, more than the actual stories even. I just love Paul Gallucci's artwork. You've got some, not Paul, Paul Gallucci. Let's get one that's actually Paul Gallucci's artwork. So there's a bit of some different artists in here. But a brilliant volume. Then into a classic Fantastic Four. Now this is volume 4. There's some good stories, there's some bad stories, but there's some real classics. Got, of course, the Black Panther, strange clue on the front. The Mystery of the Black Panther. I always love the titles because they, of course, they often just have one little bit of story. That's it, Mystery of the Black Panther. Then you got the Silver Surfer. Great bit of Silver Surfer. Love that storyline. Then Claw. And you got the original Human Torch. And then Doc Doom story, which is one of the best. You've got Sandman as well. But you've got the classic. Oh, Doc Doom. I'm just going to turn to away. I don't want to put one of the better pages, so I'm just going to put one of the other ones. Doc Doom. The Power Cosmic. And Where Stalks the Sandman. The artwork at this point, the restoration is superb. Really beautiful. Blastar. Love Blastar. Blastar. And him, of course, who later became Warlock. You got the early stories of him. So that's a real great one. Now, that's another collection I would love to see as an epic. Why, or a complete they should bring out the ones with this, and of course the Thor when they faced him, and also the Warlock series. Though they did bring out a Warlock complete collection with Starling, which is a great collection, but it's just slightly annoying that all the earlier Warlock stories haven't been collected yet. Then you've got Psycho Man, and you've got some brilliant pin-ups as well. I love the pin-ups in these stories, because that's obviously one of the annuals. And then you got some parody work and some bonus material at the back. So this is just a brilliant volume. Volume 4. Now you're probably getting the feel that I love the more quirky ones, and this is probably one of the other ones. AntMan, this is volume 1. I love this one. The only criticism is that it doesn't finish off all the Ant-Man, Giant Man stories. It leaves 10 stories. Why? They're only 9 pages long. They could have, I'm certain that would have 10, that would be 90 pages. Now this book is 427. They could have brought out a 520 page. Could have included all of the sequence of that. Hopefully maybe they'll bring out volume 2 and they will include the Marvel feature, because that would be nice. But they had some great stories. They had some duff stories in here as well, because you've got sort of this character. I'm just going, the Protector. It did have a lot of these sort of characters. It always has, of course, the cover there, that one there. But Comrade X or whatever, or this one here, the Scarlet Beetle. Well, they're basically monster stories. Basically, a lot of these were monster stories. So you still got the monster story. A bit. However, they did improve. Suddenly it started to change, and you had some really good tales. Creature from the Cosmos, of course, you got Wasp in the end turning up. It was great when they finally had the Wasp. As far as why they didn't include the Wasp in the title here is baffling. Cyclops walks the earth. Some really, really oddball stories. You've got Razor as well. Some great characters. This is another one, the Human Top, who of course eventually became Whirlwind. So you got a great story with this guy whizzing around. Probably not the best way of being as fast. I mean, I can't spin around when I do like Zumba or something. I spin around a bit. I'm like, woo, all over the place. Obviously, his mutant power means that he can basically doesn't have a problem with spinning around, because I couldn't spin around to save my life. You got Where Somewhere Waits a Wobbo, whatever that was. Anyway, they often had these Wasp stories. However, it was Wasp basically, at the start of the story, she would start discussing something, and then you would have basically one of these, it was a bookend in the story. Though they did eventually have some proper Wasp stories, which I think they should have continued, but they didn't. Porcupine. So you got the Porcupine. Some of the greatest characters of the Marvel Universe. And some brilliant stuff on the trail of the Human Top again. The Magician. The Coming of the Magician. On the trail of Spider-Man. They didn't do too many with these sort of storylines in terms of other characters, but it would have been nice to have like the Fantastic Four turn up, because Ant-Man did appear, and I don't know why they didn't include that in here. If you were going to do a book, the complete sort of epic, they would have included the Fantastic Four venture with Ant-Man. And of course then you'd probably have to turn around and say, well, why not include Avengers #1, because of course he appeared in that as well. Why not? So this one battles Giant Man. Giant Man battles the Hulk. I have to say, one of the weirdest looking Hulks. I'm actually saying Hulk does vary. If you never think, oh, Hulk doesn't change that much. However, if you go through and look through, this is a great volume though. You go through all the Hulks and you put them all side by side. How amazing how different Hulk is over the years. Of course, probably mutating from all those gamma rays. That's their excuse. Just different artists, of course. Just draw it different ways. I love this one. Thor, this is volume 6. And this has got Loki releases Mangog, the monster powered by the anger and hatred of a billion beings. This is a billion beings. Okay, so he's going downhill a bit there, because he was a billion. That's a lot more than billion, because I mean, don't want him too powerful. Actually, I always sort of struggle with a billion. Frankly, a billion sounds effective, but if you were walking and you had the power of a billion, you would crush the ground underneath you. You would have to be very careful. Anyway, minor point. Or any action, any slightest action, you would have serious issues for everything. So you got Mangog's story, The Well at the Edge of the World. Not our world, though. So it's a bit slightly confusing title. Great story, though. Great story sequence. I love Volstagg in this story. There's some really great story. Pluto. Beware if this be Ragnarok. Some classics there. Pluto again. Classic stories. This is a period where I started to read Thor. Loved these ones. And you also got Ego Prime, who I must admit, didn't know who Ego was at that point, even though the story. Poor Odin is angry as ever. Odin is always, whoever Hykos is, that's Mephisto's story. I love that bit with Mephisto. Got a great sequence there of some characters from obviously our past. Though if Mephisto was that great, he could bring characters from all over the place. Certainly they're all down there somewhere. And is that the best bunch of characters you can get that are evil? However, Loki in the story, The Day of the Deadly Druid. I love this one because it's, of course, set in England, where I come from. So, great story, even though it doesn't resemble England in any form I've ever seen. I do not know, is there any town or city, English tavern, this is it, limps across, darkens, and you go, really? No, I assume because of the bit here with London, there's obviously the bridge, then he's walking around this way. This looks like it was London in the 19th century. I think maybe everyone, obviously in America, must think we live in sort of ancient times. Ooh. Well, sometimes we do. Ulrich, good old Ulrich there. And you got a really weird sort of storyline here with these lizard creature story. So that's really, I love this volume. This volume is great. Volume 6. So this is Into the Dark Nebula, which is weird because the Dark Nebula story is the last story. They always did that. It's odd. To finish off, Daredevil, this is volume 4. Not so great, but it finishes on a high. It's got some good stories in it. Nothing wrong with stories. It's got Man-Bull, Owl, Scorpion, Submariner, Spider-Man, and also got his relationship with Karen Page. And also, at the end, you got the Black Widow. And I loved the Black Widow stories. So there's the Black Widow. And of course, the next volume has a lot more of Black Widow. And some of the stories were pretty rubbishy. I have to say, some of the stories were not that good. Some brilliant artwork. Nothing wrong with the artwork. But the Tribune. We've got Black Panther in here, but just really? They were non-characters. They didn't really do anything. I mean, you got here another one. I'm not even certain. Again, there's a lot of nobody's going to stop, and it's not really certain that character. There was a lot of these stories, unfortunately, in this period. So I was never that impressed. There's another one here. Brother Brimstone. The Killing of Brother Brimstone. What's this one? Oh, Gladiator. No. But anyway, it did improve, I think, by the end. So it's a mix of stories. There's some good stories and there's some averagely stories. Volume 4. So that's a run through. I'm going to do a part 3. I was going to do the whole lot, the rest of, but it gets to the point where I could drag the video on for hours if I talked about all of the epic collections and really gave in depth to all of them. But anyway, I hope you found this of interest, of all these Daredevils and whatever. And I would recommend virtually all of them to go and check out. Though, of course, epics sometimes are quite hard. If you don't get them at the time when they come out, it's very hard to get them later. So it's one of those ones you have to decide, I want that now. Because if you don't, they don't often reprint them. So it's they do. I think there have been some reprints, but it's very, very tricky. I've had to buy essentials because I didn't get the X-Men #1, Epic Collection #1. And it has come out subsequently, but it's I actually bought the Essential volume, so I'm not going to bother to get the Epic now. So, but in most cases I get the omnibus editions. But I still love Epic collections. I still thoroughly enjoy reading through these books, and they're always great because they're nice and light. It's not like omnibus editions where you've got a real weighty tome. You can pick these up, just dip into the stories, and just read some great stories. So it's a lot But the quality is really good, really beautiful colour all the way through this, and restoration is generally always first rate. So that's a load of ones from the 60s and 70s. I haven't got many epics, or any. I've got lots of completes that have got works from the 80s, 90s, etc., but no epics that are of later periods than the 60s or 70s. So I'll do that in the next video. Bye.